from Rashekar. This was a question, relevant question we've had from someone else before. If I have an H1B approved visa for one employer, my question is, can we transfer to another employer before entering the US? And now, to follow up with this, if they're already stamped, can they still use the same visa stamping, or they have to go back to the consulate because they have never worked in the US?
Right. So that's tricky, but I think we can answer it. And again, don't hold me on this because there are a lot of gray areas and we're giving our best possible answer, right? So, but we always have a caveat for every response that we give. We're doing, we are giving responses to the best of our knowledge with the intention of answering people's questions um, to the best ability that we have, given all the gray areas that USCIS has. So, and every Dan, as you know, every case is sometimes processed differently. So, while one case might get approved, the other case might get denied. So, keeping all this in mind, there's some questions that are asked for which the answers are a little tricky, but I will go out on the line and still respond to those questions, as you know. So, with reference to this particular question, I think, Dan, you said the question was that the H1 is approved, but he is out of the country, so they have not worked on the H1.
He wants to
And I'm
transfer.
thinking cap. It's a cap.
Cap case.
So I would usually advise clients that if it's a cap case, your H1 is really starting after October 1st. So just to be safe, I would say just make sure you file that H1, whatever you want to file, the second H1, after October 1st, meaning after the start of the validity period of that H1, just to be safe.
So since they
So
have
and
not,
that's easy enough to do because we're already in November.
worked for the employer, there's no question of pay stubs because it's consular
There's no
process.
question of pay stubs. And as we answered a question earlier, I think it's still cap exempt. There's no harm in trying. We've done several cases and gotten approvals, but your case might be the unlucky one, but we have received approvals, and that's the basis on which I'm saying it, that it's worth trying to get a cap exempt approval. With reference to your question about the visa, can they use the same visa? Generally, they can. So they go for a visa, they get a visa approval, then they change their minds and decide that they will go with company B. So they get an approval for company B, but they use the same visa which was approved for company A. They're allowed to do that. But there might be questions at the port of entry as to why you didn't go with that employer. What happened, and then at the time of going for the visa, did you actually have a job with them? Things like that. And if they think that there is some wrongdoing, they might cancel the visa. Um, so, just to avoid that situation, you have to be prepared. You have to have a good reason. Maybe your reason is that they laid you off. They did have a job, but they laid you off. So you can show proof of that. So just go prepared to answer that question. But yes, you can go with the second H1 approval and the old visa. You don't have to go for stamping again, and you can travel and re-enter the country.
Yeah, unfortunately, there are a lot of mixed answers. But then, as you rightly said, it is always safe to, maybe just get another visa stamp because, based on my, I remember, I don't know if anything has changed from then, but then 15 years ago or 17 years ago, I sent out an email to Mumbai consulate asking the same question. They replied stating if the person has not worked in the US, it is a good idea. They didn't say this is a regulation, but they said, it's a good idea that they come back to the consulate for a new visa stamping. Now, thanks for patiently answering all these questions on the 60-day grace period. But if you guys have any more questions, you can continue to comment on the same video wherever you're watching. But then, if you need consultation or you have a specific problem, I would not suggest to get answers from the internet. You should definitely reach out to a professional. Prashanthi Reddy can be reached at area code 212-354-1010. Prashanthi at Reddy, ESQ.com. I think Prashanti, next week, same time at 2 o'clock, we should do something like Ask Me Anything, so they can, not build on a topic, and because people have a lot of questions about, now there might be more layoffs, and there's a lot of confusion with what happens with their H1B. They're out of country, in the country. So I think we should come up with something next week, which focuses on, they ask anything and you just answer them. So we are
That's a
covering.
good idea. We can announce it. We can announce that now. So whoever viewers are there who have not asked their question can come back to us next week on Wednesday, as Dan said, and we will answer your question on a AMA session.
Yes. So same time, same platforms. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's listed up wherever you're watching. It's Immigration Talk Show is the YouTube handle. YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, it's the same handle. And we also stream smaller files on Instagram and TikTok. They don't allow an hour videos here. But then if you have smaller, questions, the questions will be asked during the shows, even if you're not here. But you would see your question answered when you get the notification from these platforms. Thank you, Attorney Prashanti, for helping our community today, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Dan. Take care.
Bye.